p.m. on Friday, February 7th, 2025, here from Shippensburg University. You are listening to Greek Speak on WSYC 88.7 FM. As always, I'm Luke Rainey. Joined alongside me is Andrew Mercier, co-host. And today we have a special guest from PSK. Sean, do you want to introduce yourself?
Good morning. My name is Sean Tollett. I am the president of PSK as well as the treasurer for IFC, and I'm glad to be here.
Yep, thank you, Sean, for coming on the show. So, Sean, the first question I always ask everybody, and it's nice that this is the third week of our show this semester. We've had guests in all 3 weeks, but this is the first president we've talked to. I think never mind. It's actually the second week in a row. Second week in a row we've had a president come in, but this is our first fraternity president we've been interviewing. So, Sean, tell us why you chose Greek life in the first place. Tell us why you chose PSK, Phi Sigma Kappa, and then how did you become president?
Yeah, so coming to a college like Shippensburg, I don't know a whole lot of people, so I really saw Greek life as a way for me to meet new people and make a lot of good, lasting connections, and so far I've done just that. And I mean, my choice for PSK, me and my one roommate my freshman year were looking around, looking at all the Greek life organizations, and we just felt that that was the one that fit our personalities the best, so we decided to go there. And
no, you're good. That's excellent to hear. And I think, once you're kind of shopping around for those organizations, that certainly you consider all sorts of things, how you mesh with the guys and things like that. Did you kind of go into it knowing you wanted to do Greek life, or was it PSK really was what got you? Because for me, it was more of Kappa Sigma got me before I even knew I wanted to do Greek life. But how was that for you?
Yeah, I think that's probably a similar way for how I was. I didn't really go into it thinking I was going to join and knowing I was going to join from day one, but I got around and got to meet all the people and felt like I was just at home. I felt a good connection with everybody, so that kind of made me go there.
So who was your freshman roommate, and kind of how did that all go down? I mean, I know you guys were going around meeting different people and you kind of felt that was the right place for you. I kind of had the same experience with my freshman roommate, did the exact same thing, and then ultimately we both joined Kappa Sigma together, but who was that?
So his name's Chase Petrasic. We're actually still roommates now. And I think he played a pretty big role in me deciding to rush, because I felt like I kind of wanted to do it with one of my friends and join with one of my friends, and I think it just went from there.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something I felt like. I just felt a lot more comfortable, kind of, obviously going into something completely different, something that you are unaware of, and having someone that you're familiar with kind of soothes the stress a little bit. But you talked about still living together. That's great. One thing I want to point out is, we were talking about exact. Can't help but notice. I think you had a class of 6. Your member class was 6 members, right?
Yeah.
I think 4 of you are now on exec?
Yeah.
Kind of how did that happen? I know that I've seen the trajectory of PSK in the past of having these younger leaders, having the younger voices, but when did you really know that you kind of wanted to be on exec?
So this year we have a lot of seniors going out, so I know me and my entire class, we kind of just decided that we wanted to be the leaders this year, and it was our time to step up and take these exec positions. So that's just kind of how that was, and I felt like I wanted to be in a more, important position of leadership, so that's why I ran for president.
Yeah, you also talked about your experience as the Interfraternal Council, or IFC is short, treasurer. What's your major? Is there any correlation on why you ran for treasurer?
Yeah, I'm a finance major, so I figured that being the treasurer and knowing how to deal with money and kind of work that around was good for me.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that, and I definitely encourage a lot of our brothers to go into a field of their interest. So obviously we have our 5 exec members, and then each exec member has chair members underneath of them. And I kind of always encourage people to, go in the area of their study. So if someone's a finance major, I try to get him in with Luke, our treasurer, kind of in the finance fundraising area, something related to the major, because overall it keeps you more engaged, because you almost feel like you're working towards something. Like, if you're doing something that has nothing to do with your major, and you're kind of in a lesser role, why care? I think that's a huge thing. But I know you guys do your elections in the fall, which is different from us, and I feel like we're one of two, I believe, that do it at the end of the year. But were you kind of approached about president, or was that kind of your call?
I was approached by some of our older brothers about it, like at the beginning, and I kind of didn't really think that it would have been a good idea, but then as I became a part of the chapter and kind of learned more about how it's ran, I kind of took control there and said, hey, I want to do this.
What previous positions did you hold within your organization? I mean, I know that you joined back in the spring of 2024, so, not too much time in the chapter, but did you hold any type of chairs or anything like that before you moved up to chapter president?
Yeah, in the fall this year, I was our fundraising chair, so I think that also kind of helps me with treasurer, just kind of learn how to build and plan events that are raising money and how to work with that.
Yeah, so whenever you did fundraising chair, I mean, what were some of the big projects that PSK does for fundraising? Obviously, one of the things our chapter does a lot of, and we've done hot dog fundraisers multiple times along Richard Avenue on certain Friday and Saturday nights. We are constantly doing table events in the Cub for both fundraising and philanthropy, and we actually do have a philanthropy event, I think, at 11 o'clock today, so as soon as we're done with the show. But what does that look like when it comes to your chapter?
Yeah, we did try to do some of those food-based fundraisers on the weekend where we could make the food and give it out. And then we also had a pretty big one where we got a dunk tank from Alpha Phi and did a fundraiser with them. And that was probably our most successful one.
Yeah, that dunk tank, it rotates its way around Greek life pretty frequently. It's made its way to Kappa Sigma a handful of times, most recently during homecoming this past fall. Homecoming, that was the first time because prior to me, I was not at P&M whenever Kappa Sigma did homecoming in fall of 23, or I might have been at that point, but obviously there's no involvement for me at that time. But once participating in homecoming this past year was a lot of fun, being in the parade, and I handled a lot of the media stuff, so I was doing some photography for the chapter then. So talk to us about how your homecoming went last fall. Who were you with another organization, and how'd that day go?
Yeah, so we had our homecoming with Alpha Phi, like I said before, and then being in the parade was pretty fun, getting to go around and see all the other organizations and what they came up with for their floats. And then we have our homecoming chairs did a great job of setting up and making sure the day was fun.
Yeah, and that's a lot of execution. Especially for us last year, we were with the Katie Phi NOS sorority, and we had a lot of preparation to do when it came to making sure everybody was fed, because we are an extremely large organization. So within us, and then of course catering to Katie Phi, catering to our alumni. I mean, that was an extensive operation for us. So it was certainly a long day and a long week, I know, for everybody who had to help prepare for that, but it was certainly a great day that came together, and it's one of my favorite events here on this campus. But our chapter just recently announced that who we're going to be partnering with for the fall 2025 homecoming. That would be with AOPI. So that happened within the past couple of days, actually. So we're excited to be doing that. Do you guys have any plans for 2025 yet, or is it still up in the air?
Yeah, towards the end of last semester, we talked with Delta Zeta, and we're going to do homecoming with them this year.
Awesome. Yeah, it's always good because it makes life interesting whenever you are able to partner up with a second organization. So, really look forward to that. And that would be, I don't know, what year are you again?
I'm a sophomore.
You're a sophomore. Okay, so you got plenty more to go, because I'm a junior right now, so that means this is going to be my last one coming up where I'm an active student. Being able to participate in homecoming, but obviously that's where homecoming comes in, because that's for the alums. But this is obviously, the next topic is definitely up Drew's alley just as much as it is mine, but this is probably the most exciting time of the year when it comes to Greek life. We are anticipating Rush Week. We just had IFC Rush Week, which is probably more of a way for chapters themselves to bond with one another than it is as a recruitment mechanism. But next week is really that is the big one. So what are you looking forward to about next week?
Yeah, we've had a lot of planning going into next week for Rush Week. It's getting to be that time, so it's getting a little stressful for everybody around the chapter because we know it's a big week for us. But we have we have like a basketball event planned at the beginning of the week, and then towards the middle of the week we have an Aruga's dinner. They have a cheap wing night where we're gonna take all of our PNMs that want to come, and we're gonna take them out there and have a nice dinner with them.
Yeah, Aruga's is always a good hot spot. We've done that in the past where we used to have we actually are bringing it back this year. We're doing an alumni presentation, like a professional presentation and stuff like that. We're now doing it on Saturday, but in previous years we used to do it on Thursdays, and we used to have, it was an alumni sponsored event where we'd go out to Aruga's and all get to hang out with each other, get wings and stuff like that, and really get to interact with one another. But lots of credit there. I definitely, I'm a little bit up and down with Aruga's. Service isn't necessarily the best, but as long as you block out about 5 hours, you'll be all right. But I don't know. I think that's something that everyone's kind of going in the direction of. I know I've spoken to Anthony McCloskey, Mike Rainey, the new chapter president for PyLam. Their staple was always doing Redemption Barbecue, and we've kind of seen that every semester. And obviously, we were doing Aruga's for a long time. Now we've kind of shifted into doing more of a homemade thing. But obviously, with you guys doing Aruga's, I always think doing having these like sporting events, but then kind of like slowing it down, just going to dinner. I think it's always a great approach. We have people over here, Luke Rainey over here that, likes to break his fingers during our sporting events. So, maybe we gotta fit everyone's needs. But what other events do you have?
And then on Tuesday we have another, like a slower one where we're going to the red zone and just playing pool, hanging out, getting to meet the guys. I think those kind of, like you said, those slower events where it's not like the sports are fun as well, because you get to kind of talk to the new guys and meet them more. So
yeah, Red Zone was one of our most successful events last semester. It had multiple new people that kind of showed up that day, and I always pick on them to this day. I say the worst decision you made was there's a table when you walk in, a big table, and there's pictures of me sitting there. I got like glasses on, like I look like I was stressed out of my mind. People say I was, maybe I wasn't, I don't know. I feel like I picked a few white hairs out of my head that week. But, that was, as I was saying, I always pick on him. I say the worst decision you ever made was sitting down at that table. Because you sitting down at that table, I wasn't letting you get up. I wasn't letting you get out of here without, giving us a shot. And they've ultimately become some of our most active brothers. And, that's really important to me. But you mentioned seniors. How many seniors do you have? Last year, that's something that we struggled with. I know that we're at this, this 50 number, the amount of brothers now, but I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous last year. We had probably over 10 people graduate, and then next year, I did the math. We have over 25 people graduating. So it's like, it's important to always think about. You're always gotta, quote unquote, rebuild, retool. But how many seniors you got?
I think we have about 7 or 8 seniors graduating this semester, and they've all been very important and active members of the chapter, so it is going to be different to lose them, but we are going to try to, fill their spots with newer guys with similar personalities and everything, so we can try to recover from that.
Yeah, that's always the number one strategy. I always look at that. I always look at our total amount of seniors, and I'm like, okay, all right, let's say I have 5 seniors. I need at least 5 new members. Obviously, I want more, but I at least need to even it out because I don't want to see your numbers plummet. But I got to say, you guys have been doing really well in terms of recruitment. You guys, obviously, it means a lot when you bring in 6 guys during your class and 4 of them are on exec. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that means that you have guys that are ready to go, ready to be involved. I guess I'll ask, what has been your experience as president so far? I know that it's a lot that comes to the job, a lot of stress, a lot of responsibility, but, is there anything that really, did you feel prepared, or you kind of learn on the spot?
Yeah, our last president, Ty, did a pretty great job of preparing me for becoming president, and then once you kind of become president, come back for the new semester, you kind of have to learn some stuff as you go. So some of the stuff I've been prepared for, Ty's helped me out with, and I've known how to done it. And then there's also times where I have just kind of had to learn on the fly.
And I think one thing that credits you is, one thing I'm just going to tell you, I've talked to Luke Hillius, our treasurer, who serves on the IFC board with you. He straight up told me that you are probably one of the most mature sophomores he's ever met. And, we were talking about that. And, because, obviously I was talking about, oh, yeah, Sean's coming on the show on Friday and, kind of getting his little faults and everything like that. And he had nothing but great things to say. And that's honestly all I've heard from anyone in the, all of Greek life, is that you leave a lasting impression. And one of our brothers actually is in the Woods Honors College. I believe there's actually multiple of them with you. So how exactly did you go into the Woods Honors College? What was your life, your high school experience? How did that all happen?
Yeah, so, mostly throughout high school and then that first semester of college, I was really focused on my academics. I thought that coming to college was something that I wanted to get my degree and then get out, but obviously as I came here, I decided to take a different path and join Greek life. But being part of the Wood Honors College has been great so far. Obviously the classes are a little bit more challenging, but I enjoy the challenge. I think it's helped me out a lot as a student and as a person as well, because I feel like I have to work harder, and I've had to work harder to do time management just to make sure that I can get all the tasks done that I have to get for both school and my fraternity.
Yeah, I think that sets you up as a good person, a good leader, and ultimately for your life after college. But kind of going to where I was right there, did you play any sports in high school? What was did you want to go to college? And if so, obviously you ended up choosing SHIP. I'll get to it I'll ask why. But was there anywhere else that you considered?
Yeah, I was actually, it kind of sounds weird, but I was considering the University of Arkansas and then Shippensburg as well.
That's got to be pretty random. But, I don't know, that's a pretty cool school. But, it's University of Arkansas and Shippensburg are probably a lot different. But
yeah, very different.
Why did you choose SHIP? Obviously going from a big Division I school to, a smaller Division II school is a big change. So why did you end up choosing SHIP?
It was kind of a thing of I have a younger brother at home who I felt like if I was too far away from, I wouldn't, be able to see him as much. So I feel like being able to go home and see my family is really important for me, and I feel like that's why I chose Shippensburg, to stay kind of close.
That's an honorable reason. That's actually very similar to kind of my philosophy when it came to college too. Was I didn't want to go all that far away, because at the end of the day, I knew I still needed my family as kind of that support system. And it's tough to see them sometimes just because of how busy I am down here and how busy they are with their own lives. But ultimately, that it's not a hard errand in order to get home or for them to come down here. So that was a big deal to me as well. But we'll keep going with this conversation. Again, we're joined with the president of PSK, Sean, right here, and we thank you for listening to our show. You're listening to Greek Speak on WSYC 88.7 FM from Shippensburg University.
Listen to Greek Speak on WSYC 88.7 FM from Shippensburg, Pennsylvania, for engaging conversations about all things Greek life with Luke, Rainey, Andrew Mercier, plus special guests every Friday at 10 a.m.
Yeah, and I want to kind of reel it in and go back to the conversation when it regarding Rush Week, because like I said, that's coming up and it's obviously a big time of year. But whenever you assess the people who are considering your organization and then ultimately whether or not you're going to give them a bid so that way they become a new member, what does that process look like, and what are you looking for out of your P&Ms?
Yeah, I know, during our interviews, after our interviews, we like to have a chapter discussion about each person. And I guess the main thing that we're looking for is good people that we think will contribute meaningful things to the chapter. Because obviously, we could have people that come to interviews and we give them a bid, and then they come around, become a new member, become a brother, and then they don't contribute anything. So we're really looking for people that we think will be active and help out our chapter in a good way.
Yeah, and that's something that I think, we've emphasized the same points, obviously, but one of the things I think we're going to have to be more specific about considering it is because, like, we are going to consider these points a little bit more seriously, I think, on this cycle, just because we have such a large organization right now that we are kind of, we don't want to expand beyond our means, obviously. Well, the more we recruit, the merrier, and we're happy to recruit, like, people who are clearly demonstrating, like, they're willing to work, they're going to be good people to our organization. But I think that's something, like, that we're kind of watching out for a little bit more closely is, okay, well, how much will they actually give towards the cause? Just because, again, we've grown so big that we are really not in the numbers need right now. In the long term, we absolutely are, and Andrew talked about it. Like, we're going to have to be careful about, being too cautious, like being too careful about who we bring in, because we also want to make sure we still have a healthy number of people coming in to sustain the organization after our spring 2026 year, because it is approaching quickly where, Andrew's going to be gone, I'm going to be gone, so I don't know who's doing this show after we leave, but basically what's going to happen is we're just going to have a vacuum of power in the organization unless we do a good job recruiting good people throughout these next 3 semesters, which I'm confident we will, because the people we have recruited, they have been quite good. We have had 2 classes in a row, at least my class and the class that came in the fall, where I think we've had some outstanding people within it, and who I'm more than confident in the current leadership, and I'm very confident that our future leadership is going to be like quite as good as well. So this is an important week for sure, as far as figuring out like who's a good fit for the organization, and then also giving people an opportunity to pursue a different area of campus life. But I'll say this. One of the things about next week that's going to be, I think, a bit of a challenge is we are going to be working around the weather. So I don't know if your chapter's been considering this, but obviously it's winter, so majority of our events are indoors. So if there is a cancellation at the university level, at that point, the day is over. So let's just say we get Tuesday, Wednesday, we have like consecutive snow days. How do you plan on keeping the connections going with some of your P&Ms throughout what might be a challenging week?
Yeah, I don't think we have really looked at what we would do if there was a school cancellation and we couldn't use their services. But right now, one of the good things that we have going with our P&Ms is like we have a group chat with all of them that we'd like to stay very active in and talk to them and make sure that they still, want to come around and want to be a part of us. So during rush week, I guess just keeping open flows of communication with all of them is going to be very important, especially if there's going to be days where we may not be able to see them in person.
Right, and that's something where you look at 4 years ago, you go back to COVID times, and I cannot even imagine what the recruitment process would look like in COVID world, whenever the whole point of Greek life is socialization, and socialization, at least in-person socialization, was completely wrecked. So that's something that I just think would have been a total challenge, and in a way, we might be hitting that next week. Luckily, it's temporary. Obviously, it's the weather, so you're going to get those nice days, and even if we do have some big snowstorm coming in or anything like that, and it derails 1 or 2, you still got other parts in the week to kind of pick up the broken pieces. But, yeah, it's just kind of one of those deals, just puts a damper on things, but that's what leadership is all about, adjusting to the circumstances that you're put under, and a lot of times they're unfavorable. Last fall, we had outdoor events planned throughout rush week. Well, that Wednesday, we had a tropical storm come through and dump up, a couple inches of rain. Well, we weren't going to do anything outside, with no point in getting everybody's shoes all muddy, so we had to kind of do a last-second improvisation, and Drew was able to coordinate that with Harley Hall to get us in there. So I'm sure you've had like experiences like this before, but obviously this has been it could be an interesting week. Now, with all that said, kind of reeling it back in, you're being a sophomore. So, how is the leadership going then for you in the future? Like, how long are you going to plan to hold the presidency? Would you step down from the position at any point? Like, or how does that process go when it comes to PSK?
Yeah, right now the plan is for me to take this year as the president on the exec board, and then hopefully pass it off to somebody that will be able to pick up where we left off and continue to do a great job with the chapter. But, if my chapter needs me to hold the position again, I'd be more than willing to.
Yeah, that's My gosh, that's something that I've noticed is you guys tend to kind of slip towards younger leadership, younger e-boards, and it's different, compared to us that, especially our president and vice president. 9 times out of 10, our president and vice president are seniors. It's just how it ends up. It's a progression type thing. Usually, how we do it is, there's no set rule, but usually the new president served on the previous exec board. It's kind of how IFC does it, but there's no actual set requirement. It's just kind of how it is. But having to sit and learn our current exec board, learn about exec and then move up, that's something that we've done. But how do you credit your process of, like, obviously Ty was a sophomore when he was president, and I believe Brody would have been a sophomore when he was president. So, obviously going down the same trajectory, like, how do you think it helps you, especially in your early stages of college?
Yeah, I think it kind of teaches me a lot about, one, being a leader, and two, like, as president, just dealing with stuff that may come up, kind of adapting to different situations. And I feel like that's something that's good to learn now so I can use it for going forward in my life.
So I know we only got a few more minutes with you, but I kind of got 2 things I want to ask. So, have you seen, I know that you're young, and I say that you're young, but you're not much younger than me, but have you seen any, like, professional development from being in the organization, especially on exec? And do you possibly see any professional development blossoming over this year and throughout your time within the organization?
No, yeah, I think being on exec is going to help a lot with being more professional and just kind of learning how to speak to people higher up than me and work with them to achieve our common goals. And then, being a leader is always going to be an important thing no matter where I'm at in my life. So taking these, 2 executive board positions in 2 different organizations, I think is going to help just set the stage for me being a leader moving forward.
So my last question, after I want to open up to any questions that you may have for us, but my last question is, what advice do you have for, potential new members, people that may be considering Greek life as a whole? They're not even potential new members for Kappa Sigma or PSK. They're just members of the Shippensburg community. And that was the main purpose of the show. And, we're going to carry that out until until we're done. Is, spreading awareness of Greek life. So what is your advice for someone that may be on the fence or honestly may be against it?
Yeah, I know Greek life kind of gets a bad rep from time to time, but, I have nothing but good things to say about it. It's helped me make some of the most important relationships in my life. So I got nothing good to say about it, but I guess to somebody who's on the fence, that's exactly how I was going into Rush Week in the spring of 23 or 24, sorry. But, you just kind of have to take it slow, take it step by step and enjoy it. Get out, meet all the organizations, find which one you bond with the most. And if that's something that you're interested in by the end of the week, then I would say go do it. And that's because that's what I did, and I've enjoyed it very much ever since.
That last thing you just said, that is something that I live and die on. Go do it. Like, if you're on the fence and you're questioning, and it's only you questioning it, just do it, because it will ultimately pay off in so many ways, socially, now with your current brothers, your alumni brothers, and for professionalism going forward in your career path. But our last little thing before we let you go is, do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, I know Luke touched on it a little bit, but how did you get into Greek life?
So, coming to actually in high school, a lot of my family and friends were like, "Oh, you're a frat guy. You're a frat guy." And for a long time, I was so against. I was like, "Nope, not doing it. I'm not doing what you said." And then I came to college, and I was like, I had a lot of friends in high school, and that's really what made my high school experience a lot of fun. So coming to college, the only person I knew was my roommate, Michael Burrows. We grew up together, ultimately came to college together. He was the only one I knew, and him and I really, that was one thing that we did in high school, was we really clicked in terms of meeting people together. So that's kind of what we did, was we went out and met different people. I actually remember it was the block party. I met some of the Cap Sig guys, and they were like, hey, like, there was actually a Ravens preseason game on that day. They're like, hey, we're watching the game. You want to come over? Like, because I think I was wearing a Ravens jersey or something like that. And, you know, I ultimately came over and just sat and hung out for, I think it was like 5 hours. Like, we were just talking. And it's just a lot of fun. But I didn't just leave it at that. Like, I went out and I met Pineland Brothers. I went out and met Theta Xi Brothers, PSK Brothers. PSK is one of my favorite organizations on this campus. I love every interaction I have with you guys. And, you know, ultimately, I was really good friends with AJ, Derek, and Ty. They're still friends to this day. But they lived down the hall from me, and I hung out with them a lot. Like, whether we did a fantasy draft one year and then we'd play Madden and stuff like that. It was just guys being guys. But ultimately, I was looking for the same thing that I had in high school, of like that group of people that are going to lift me up and elevate me. And ultimately, it all went back to Kappa Sigma, because first impressions do mean a lot to me. And it was the fact that they approached me and were like, hey, like, and it wasn't like a big pitch or anything like that. It was just like, hey, you want to watch football. And that meant a lot to me. So ultimately, I did that for the friendship dynamic, but also I've learned so much in terms of professional development throughout my time. You got anything for Luke?
Not really. I guess my only question would have been, how did you get into Greek life?
The same thing. So, well, I mean, a year ago at this time, things were not ideal in my life, and that's where Greek life came in. I was in dire need of a social support system, and you know, I often say it was people who believed in me more than I believed in myself. So I Kappa Sigma, they're the ones that gave me the chance, and the rest was history from there. I mean, it has been a very rewarding experience, and a lot of it is because of Andrew. You know, Andrew and I, we knew each other before I considered rushing Kappa Sigma. But he kind of knew, like, I was in need of some help, and he definitely lobbied for my cause when, again, he didn't necessarily have a reason to. But he saw something in me that, again, I didn't really see in myself, and it worked out. So, Sean, of course, want to thank you again for joining us. We're going to Andrew and I are going to continue for just a little bit longer on the show, but otherwise, thanks for coming in. Thanks for sharing your experiences, and most importantly, thank you for representing PSK and then one of the Greek life chapters here on Shippensburg University's campus. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I had a great time.
Yeah, and we'll be back in just a couple moments here. You're listening to Greek Speak on WSYC 88.7 FM. Andrew and I will be with you the rest of the way.
Pretty well,
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Thank you guys for having me.
Be good, thanks.
What we were taught, trained, and told to do.